Welcome, everybody. Welcome, listeners, to another episode at Ball at All Costs. Literally, it is do or die. We are just kidding here. We've got an exciting show tonight. We have the source to success. And the episode today is going to be very, very interesting. We have a special guest in Tom. Tom is going to be sharing about the two teams that he's managed, the successes, the roundabout, the rigmaroles of dealing with academies, and the secret sauce, the ingredients, whether there is salt and pepper involved, whether we've got to add garlic and onion. I don't know what it is, but there's some ingredients that Tom has been using on this grassroots football that has been getting him success. And before we get into that, we are joined by the Ball at All Costs panel. I'm going to start with Rash. How are you feeling, Rash?
Good, guys. I'm good. Good to be back. How's everyone doing, man?
We're doing well. Everyone's buzzing. We've had some victories today, so I can see special halos in everyone's head. Andrew, how are you feeling?
I'm good, thank you. Good, thank you. Enjoying the vibe, the energy of this pod already. I need to know the sauce. You didn't mention jerk. Sauce in there. I'm sure Tom's got some jerk in his fridge because that sauce is saucy. So I'm all good.
Brilliant. And Dan, is there any jerk there over there? How are you feeling, my good friend?
I'm waiting for my phone to ring. There's no bookings there. You tell the bookings will come flying in.
Don't worry. The bookings will fly. Look, I'm pretty certain, and no pressure on Tom, but after this podcast, about 1 million people will see this, judging from the network and the tentacles. Now I'm joking. Don't worry. The calls will come. Trust me. And that was a fantastic show. And I guess what Tom was talking about just off stage is about having the real conversations. And that's what I really appreciated about that conversation last week. It was real, it was informative and insightful. And I think a lot of people will walk away and take a lot of confidence from that conversation. So big up to you, Dan. And Tom. Yeah. Tom, how are you? Welcome to Ball at All Costs. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Looking forward to chatting and going through the questions. But loving what you're doing. The podcast is great and it's getting people talking. So that's what it's all about. So good on you, boys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You, man.
So look, at some point, you know how it works. If you've seen the podcast before, the panelists will have questions. I'm sure they're burning with questions to ask, but what they have kindly allowed me to do is to start things off, and then we'll just kind of get into it in this free flow. So, Tom, I guess for us, the first question naturally is why and how? You got into management. You've managed 2 teams so far. It seems from an outside looking in, it's quite a stressful role to take on. So how did you get into it? Why did you get into it? Please share.
I guess like from my side, how it all began was it began when my oldest lad was actually in a soccer hub, it's called, in Southend, and he was asked to play a year older for a team called Old Southendians. And when he went to that team, I was asked to would I be interested in help running it with another guy. And they played in the top league of the Southend footballing division. And we did amazing. It was a great group of boys over sort of 2 years, and to the point where we actually got, at the end of that final season, we were able to get a couple of boys signed in that team, and they went off to Southend, which was amazing at that time. And then I guess it got to a point where, as a dad, I wanted my son to go and play his own age and drop down and play his own age of football. And I don't think there's anywhere better to play your football as a kid than playing the Echo League. You know, I think it's the creme de la creme of football. You know, that's where people want to be. That's where all the best teams play. If you want your boy to be challenged, then ultimately that's where they need to be. So we got to a point where it was the under-8 season. We put a team together, Billericay Blacks, and really from there it was sort of, I guess, handpicking who, I felt were had potential to compete in the top league of the Echo League, and really giving them a platform to shine. For me, it's all about giving the boys the opportunity to showcase what they can do against the best. And through there, we managed to have a really successful season. 6 boys were signed from that team, which was amazing. Across all different clubs. I don't think that everyone got their reward. And that's either the boys, the clubs where they signed, or the boys that didn't get signed. But football's a game of opinion, so that was a frustration. But I think to have that many boys sign at a club or at different clubs from the Billericay team was amazing. So that kind of kicked on for the next evolve, which was the Billericay Golds, and really over the last 2 seasons, it's been amazing. It's been amazing to see their journey from taking them from pretty much under 6s, under 7s to their final season this year, playing a year up 7-a-side football against under 9 boys and competing is just amazing. And really, at the way it stands, are in 3 boys, the whole team has been signed by Cat 1 or Cat 2 clubs, which is, it's, for me as a coach, to see them doing what they love and get noticed and go on that next part of the journey is what it's all about.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think what I would like to do, Tom, if you don't mind, is I would like to kind of delve in to each team in turn. So I want to start with the Billericay Blacks, and then we'll move the conversation to your current team, which is the Billericay Golds. So I guess
I didn't get that phone call when he was building that super team. I
was just about to ask him. That very question, Andrew. Where was our bloody phone call? No,
I didn't get that phone call. Rush, did you get a phone call?
I missed out on that phone call, I think I nearly got that phone call. No, I missed it.
You were on the underground. Yeah. You went to voicemail.
Yeah, bro. It was just not happening.
Yeah. Because they kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest.
Billericay Black.
Yeah.
They did, because you had the Blues, you had the Whites, and then this super team came. And I was like, oh, you knew every player. So it was daunting.
Yeah. So that's really what I want to ask Tom, is how was he able to, because, constructing a team. So Tom, I guess, wanting to just delve into your Billericay Blacks team, constructing a team is very, very hard to do. And you talked about, hand-picking boys. For me, at the time, I'd never heard of your team before. It felt like they came out of nowhere, but it came out of nowhere, and they took the whole league by storm, to be fair, and they were a force to be reckoned with. And it was one of the most fantastic seasons. And I remember we had that lovely friendly, at the Billericay ground that Friday night, which was a tremendously what a game. But you had some really great players. So I guess for me, where did you find these players? What were you looking for? And then maybe just share. You don't mention the boys' names, but it would be good to know where they went. And we're dealing with the Blacks because the Golds is a different journey entirely, but almost the same sort of success.
So I think, for the way that the Blacks started, is that there was a lot of people that knew each other within the team already and that were playing at different teams. And really, a lot of us had kind of got together and were talking before that they kind of had outgrown the teams that they were part of. So they were not necessarily being challenged. They were playing in a lower league. And really, the parents wanted to give them the platform to see, do they have what it takes to really go against the best boys, and that's how it was born out of, and really I would say that the boys that came part of the team also went to sort of different training places where there was crossover. So you would see the boys training at a certain venue or with a certain coach, and ultimately you would go up to their parents and say, look, who they playing with, are you happy with your team? If not, we're putting a team together. It was never a case of, I would say poaching boys, but you would say that you would give the boys an opportunity, this is what we're looking to do. And what I kind of said to the parents was that I will guarantee that I will get your boys in a position where they will be seen, and we can go to all of the clubs. We can go and do all of the days. We can go and do all of the national tournaments as well, because ultimately I was doing it for my son as well. So, there was an added interest there because I wanted to go above and beyond to make sure that we got in front of everyone, so that the boys could showcase what they could do. And, I knew how good the boys could be, even from the start. It was unbelievable. They had so much talent, they had so much hunger. And I think a lot of it was to do with the parents were driven to giving the boys an opportunity as well.
Yeah. And I'm going to bring my colleagues in. This is my last question. It's something that I've always thought about. Is that something that is required then? If you want to kind of move on and be successful, you need to have the parents backing to be up for doing these national tournaments, putting their kids in front of these games. A lot of times it will be challenging. A lot of times it will be difficult. I remember hearing that your boys went down to play Fulham, and Fulham at the time, tremendous squad, and they really put in a top performance. Is that what was required? You've got to do the hours, basically. You're talking about kids training elsewhere. Is it all about the hours then? If you don't put the hours in, if you don't put yourself in front of the shop window more often than not, then really your chances of success is minimized.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily it means that it doesn't work and it doesn't happen. But I think if you're giving something your all, then ultimately you're going to have a better chance of success. That's my personal opinion. But what I would say is it's not about how hard you work. I think it's how smart that work is, and who you choose as your coaches. You choose the direction that you go in and what team you're in, because one thing I would say is that I've seen in the past there's a lot of people that might sort of jump from ship to ship, and really if there's an opportunity to stay with a team and actually I personally think build a good group of boys and play football, that's huge. Whereas I think if parents are constantly chopping and changing, that's also not great for the kid as well. So just having that platform where there's a lot more certainty, they get to know the boys, and I really do think that makes a big difference. But, in terms of how you work, you've got to work smart. So you've got to pick the right coaches. You've got to pick the coaches that are right for your boys or girls. And really, I see so many people that will be at one place one week and then another place another week, and these kids, they're not robots, so imagine if someone's giving them some advice, you need to be better with your one-on-ones and blah blah blah, and then another coach is saying, look, I want you to get on the ball and look to pass it and get it wide, because that's the position that you're playing in. They're not able to digest all of that information if there's lots of different coaches giving them different philosophies and ideas. So my humble opinion is that you need to pick the right people and you back them 100%. And it's the same with the grassroots and the team. You pick a team and you back them 100%. That's my personal opinion.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. That's good advice. Sorry, Tom. You didn't touch on your background. So you've obviously assembled the Avengers, and some might think that's luck, but I don't think it was luck. So what is your background, and how were you able to get those boys and know that was the right team to put together?
I guess it's in all of this, there's definitely a bit of luck, for sure. There's definitely a bit of luck, and I would love to say that, you know, I'm some, you know, God
Savant.
when it comes to this, you know, kids football. It's not that at all, you know. And I've certainly made lots of mistakes along the road, you know, and that's, you know, how I've behaved. I would say that, yeah, I think, you know, in terms of how it was, or how you create a team and get these people here, I wouldn't necessarily say it's anything to do off of my own back. What I kind of said to the parents is that I'm a dad too, and I'm going to make sure that we give these kids the best possible chance to succeed and get them in the shop window. And as long as the parents back me and the boys give me 110% each week, you know, I know that these boys can't play good every week.
Yeah.
But one thing that I just demand every time our boys go out and play is effort. Effort. You know, I don't care about making mistakes. I don't care about, you know, losing. I care about the effort. And you know, by making mistakes, for me, is the only way that you're going to improve as a player. So I kind of embrace the fact of making mistakes, and if it doesn't work, you know, the first or second or third time, that doesn't matter. And I think for me, I think, you know, when you talk about that kind of special sauce, secret sauce, is having the ability to put an arm around that boy and explain to him that that doesn't matter, that it's fouled and you fouled there. We're going to go again and we're going to get success. So, and what that success looks like for different boys is different, because success might be that they do really well in the B League. That might be something they do in the A League. That might be a boy that's in pre-academy. That might be a boy that's in academy football. But the reality is, for me, it's really having that ability to put that arm around that boy and say to him, you know, I'm your biggest fan. When you put on that shirt and when you get on that pitch, there is no one more prouder or who's behind you. So I'd say that was my kind of philosophy as a manager.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Another question from me, because I was intrigued by this journey. When did you know that you had a team? Like, how early on, after getting them together and then playing, did you know you had a team? Because I have an answer to that question, but when did you know?
I knew pretty much straight away that I had a team straight away, because I knew how each individual boy played, because that might have been the fact that those boys played with, you know, for example, there was a local kind of, I would say, football academy in Southend called Futures in Football. And a lot of the boys went to that. So they kind of trained within that program, and it was run by a great guy called Rob, and really, you know, he used to be at Spurs, and you know, he used to sort of give us lots of time and I guess give us a platform where we could kind of take these boys and really put them into a team. So I would say that from day one, I knew that there was boys that could play football. It's just, you know, I would say that I'd be lying if I kind of said that it turned out to be as good as what it was. I knew that there was a team there. I knew that they were good players, but did I think it would turn out the way it was? No, because I don't think you can ever kind of look at what had happened with those Billericay Blacks in that first, or the one and only year that they were together. You know, they played pretty much every pre-academy apart from sort of the main Chelsea and Arsenal, and only lost to Fulham.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, and for me, I think you played us in a friendly as well. And Matt said to me at the time, "Oh, Tom's putting together a side. he's got so and so and so and so. And we said on this pod openly, we speak about players, right? You wouldn't have been able to assemble that team if parents, coaches don't speak about players, right? So I heard the players you were putting together. Then we played you in a friendly, and I don't think you had a goalkeeper at the time. And we played over match day, and I think it was 4-4. And we were like, that's a tough game. We were established, and that was like literally probably, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 games in, if that. And I was like, they're going to be a problem. They're going to be an absolute problem. Then you got a goalkeeper. And the other thing that intrigued me was we were playing 5-a-side at the time. But your squad, I think, was how big was it? 6 or 7?
7.
It was 7. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I was impressed. I don't think we beat you that season. You didn't lose many games that season at all. And I thought everything you've said makes sense. It isn't a guarantee, but you got a lot of boys together who can play. You had the backing of the parents, and it wasn't necessarily about winning. It was about being brave, playing for each other, and working hard, which makes sense. And I'm gonna hand over to the others. The only thing I was going to say is the guy you mentioned, was it Rob? Do you think he'll come on?
Rob lives in Monaco, I believe now. So you can definitely see if you can get in contact with him. But he's an unbelievable coach, and he gave gents a great platform at the beginning of his football.
Yeah, brilliant. Also, I love that.
Well, since he's in Monaco, and I've always wanted to see the Formula One, I don't mind doing the podcast over in Monte Carlo.
You got that kind of money, Dej? Yeah.
I mean, I say we all take a private jet and just fly over there. Just when this thing gets to 1 million subscribers, I'll throw it over to Dan or Rash with their questions. Yeah,
I'm coming too if you go there.
We'll expense it somehow.
Yeah.
I've got a different kind of question. So when we played you, I was kind of new to the whole scene with my boys, and I couldn't lie, I was blown away by what I saw. But with that much talent in your squad, how did you manage parents' expectations? Because I know sometimes it's a bit like, my son might deserve more minutes than the next boy, and it's always hard to kind of stay away from those problems. So I just want to know, how did you manage that?
To be honest, mate, straight off the dot, or straight off the bat, is that they got fair game time. So I wasn't one of these people that necessarily gave people more game time than others. That wasn't my philosophy. You kind of win as a team, you lose as a team. Everyone deserves an opportunity out there to succeed. Everyone deserves an opportunity to be seen. I think that if you ask any parent that played for me in that team, they would say the same. I don't think anyone would say that their boy got less time, for sure. And I take pride in the fact of that I'm a dad too. And what I would actually go as far as saying that I would say that my own son probably might have got less game time than others.
I get you.
And that was... And actually, speaking about other people on, when I've spoken to them in terms of coaches, they've turned around, when you do your son's team, they say that you should really, you should be giving them more game time because of the sacrifices that you give. And, that never really sat well with me. So, if anything, I probably gave him the rough end of the stick, to be fair. And I think as a dad, we're all super hard on our kids, because you have an expectation and really, so my expectations for him were high, but also, I would say that he also then got treated maybe on the occasion unfairly.
That's fair.
It's an easy decision to make. You just take off your own son.
Yeah.
Instead of you then maybe having to deal with that upset parent and say, why did my son get slightly less game time? So and people don't see that level of what grassroots managers have to go through on the site.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't get a phone call from a parent because you are the parent, but you get a conversation from the mum saying, why did he have less game time, or why is he upset? And people don't see this. You're 100% right. They don't see half the sacrifice managers have to do. And it doesn't matter if your son's in the team. You go as a manager, be above and beyond. And you said you're going to get the boys showcase in front of everybody. That means a lot of travel. That means a lot of time. That means a lot of conversation. That means a lot of organization. Yes, you're doing it for your own boy, but you're doing it for 6 others as well. And there's a lot that goes into that.
What I would say though, with the parents on the Billericay team were outstanding. We ever put an event on, or an away fixture, or a friendly, it would be within minutes. Everyone would have so because everyone was bought into the process. Everyone was there for the same thing. So for me, there's nothing worse than chasing people 3-4 days later when I've got my own job and I've gone out and got this fixture, got this academy that wants to play us, or this tournament, and it was so you just never had to chase anyone. So they were kind of, it was a great group of people in the Blacks.
Yeah.
Tom, I'm gonna jump in here because you don't talk too much. I've got 2 questions for you. Yeah.
Go on, Dan.
What you spoke
Cheers,
about
Dan.
success. You spoke about success in different levels. So it's one thing talking to a young boy about success. How did you manage to break it down to parents about what success looks like for their child individually?
I think I would say that's probably the hardest one, to sit down and not even sit down, but to chat with parents. But every boy in my team got an opportunity to go to a pre-academy, whatever that looked like. And I think parents, as much as they can kind of sometimes bury their head in the sand, they can obviously see the levels when you're playing against people. So you can see where your boy is pitching in those games. So sometimes actions speak louder than words. You put on a game, and you put on an event, and you put on a showcasing game, and you can kind of see where your levels are. Everyone in that Billericay team deserved to play academy football when they played for me. Everyone deserved to play that. I would say that, they won't mind me saying it but our GK at the time, Oscar, love him to bits. He was amazing, nicest kid, nicest family, but he probably just wasn't quite right there. But now he's kicked on and he's back at Billericay and he's flying. He's unbelievable. He's putting in those. But what I would say is that the boy has to want it as well. It can't be, all of these conversations, it can't be driven by the parents. It has to be driven by the kid, and the 100%. Kid's got to want to turn up, and he's got to want to put in those hours of the extra training. He's got to want to do that extra, footwork in the garden or goalkeeping practice, whatever that may be. And some boys might not be ready for that, and that's another topic to kind of speak about, is this academy journey too early? Should it be back to what the old YTS system was, where the boys get to play for the school, the county, the district, and you can make lots of memories playing in summer tournaments, and then when it gets to a point, you can kind of move on. But that's another topic. But what I would say is that,
Tom, it sounds like you're coming back. Sorry.
Yeah, it's another conversation. There's other points to be had. Pros and cons from that. But no, look, I think going back to your question, Dan, is that, was it difficult talking to parents? All of the parents that played for us were fantastic, and we didn't have any issues, and it was easy to talk to them. They knew how hard I worked for their boy, and they knew how many opportunities that they got to play in different academies. And, you know, I would always say, you know, you can talk to any of those, and maybe it's another podcast where you talk to parents as well. But, you know, these parents were given opportunities for their boys, and no one could ever turn around and say that they didn't get an opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want to thank you, Tom. There's a couple of things there.
Dej, Dan had
Andrew.
another question, I think.
Oh, did he?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, do you have another question?
Sorry, Dan.
He's going to accuse us of talking too much. He's the star of the show right from last week. Let the man speak.
Yeah,
I'm on a wave. I'm on a wave. So, Tom, I don't know if you saw last week's show, we talk about parent conflict, and obviously you're saying being a dad, and obviously AK just a dad. Yeah, for me, what I want to say is, so those conflicts with your boy, do you ever have those situations where maybe you see something totally different to him, and you have that slight conflict with your boy in a conversation? Obviously, they're at an age now where they have their own opinions and feelings about certain things. So, how that worked out for you two?
Yeah, I guess like both my boys play, and I would say, you know, you obviously know my oldest lad, and I would say it's different with him. He's very obsessive about football and really minutiae in the detail. Like he'll watch football from pretty much the minute he wakes up to going to bed. You know, he'll watch it on VO after his games. He wants to show you the best bits, but you know, but also when you then pick out the points which, you know, where you feel he should improve on, because he might be given his individual action plans that he needs to work on, and you can kind of take in or try and advise him of where he needs to improve on those bits. So we have a fairly solid relationship on that front, and we can kind of be open with each other. But I think, like any young kid, is that I think you need to be careful. One thing I've kind of learned, and I would say to any grassroots parents, yeah, is imagine we all go to work and we finish our day at work, and the first thing we do when we get into the car on the way home is that your boss rings you and basically goes through all of the things that you could have improved on that day. Yeah. So and we would all be like, you know, you wouldn't be best chuffed. Like, I mean, you'd be fuming, really, wouldn't you? Yeah, and I think, you know, one thing is that, and I've kind of learned this, is that letting maybe the dust settle is a good thing, and then maybe looking at in a day's time and having a chat with him, because I think it's really tough for the boys, because they go out there and they put their heart and soul into a game, and if it doesn't work out good for them, and I would say, Dan, your boy's got the hardest position on a pitch, so his mind might be mentally fried. And then if you then, like, you know, so it's just dealing with that. And what I would say is, Dan, I'm joining the goalkeeper union, because my youngest son's decided he doesn't want to play on pitch anymore and wants to be a goalkeeper. So
Tom, you look chuffed.
Good luck.
Yeah, it doesn't look tough. No.
You look chuffed.
Yeah. So
is that both ends of the field you got there, ain't you?
Yeah. So it's but I think as a parent, it's you've got to be careful on how you talk to them and how you relay the information for them to take it on board. And, you know, we talk about coaches and you talk about people that you kind of respect, and, you know, like the person we spoke about and we referred to him as the GOAT earlier, is that he's got a special way.
You can name him.
Yeah, Nathan. He's got a special way with.
I heard that. Did you bring Tom on to talk about the sauce or to tap up my boy?
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah. But there's coaches. There's coaches as well as, you know, sometimes if you're a parent and you're not able to get across to them in a constructive manner, is having a coach that you can go to and say to them, look, do you mind having a chat with the boy? Help him understand what he needs to improve on, because sometimes you don't want to ruin that relationship between your boy and you. And I think it's a fine line. It's a fine line. And, I've certainly made mistakes for sure. And I think we can all kind of confess up that we've probably said the wrong things, done the wrong decisions. But it's ultimately, you don't need to, I don't think you need to go through stage by stage after a game. And that's my kind of key advice to parents. I'd let it kind of die down for a day or two, and then you have a chat with them. Maybe on the way to the next training, for example. The last game, that's what we saw. Try and improve on this, because then they're going to get back out there. They're going to play again. So I think it's kind of fresh in their mind at that point.
100%. And Tom, I think that's fantastic advice. And Dan, that's some solid questions there.
Great as well, Tom, what you're saying. Sorry, my last bit, guys, and I'm done for now. So I recently connected with a goalkeeper coach for my son, and literally, I think I've taken a while to buy into the one-to-one goalkeeper coaching stuff and everything else, but I think I've found the ideal coach for him. Literally, they click. Also, he touched base in a week as well. Like, he will actually message me to ask about my son, how he's getting on, so he knows what's going on for the week. It's not just after the session we've gone. They kind of have a continuous communication throughout the week. And I think for me, it's been great that I found the right coach for him. And as you said, they need to want it as much as everybody else. And he actually wants to go to his sessions. Like, he's on to me weekly, Dad, my session booked for the weekend. So for me, I think it's about what you're saying, finding the right coach. And the right coach, you didn't have to be tailor-made for your own son. And I think I've done that with my son at the moment, which is really good for me as well.
100%, mate. Like, for me, getting the coaches right for your boy and don't follow everyone else is the biggest thing. Jensen has got a handful of different coaches that he has, and they're the people that I put all the trust and faith in to help him succeed. And then we've got, for my youngest, he's got someone else now that's going to help him on the goalkeeping front. So, I won't be a person that takes, my kids to 25,000 different people and get 25,000 different views. They'll have the core people, and they're the people that I kind of put trust in for my boys.
I love that, Tom. I love that. And I just wanted to kind of highlight to Andrew that one of them is someone we've had on this show, and that will be coming out later. Nathan, for you, Andrew, there, and for you, Dan. Look, I just wanted to contextualize a couple of things, because people are listening to the podcast, the source of success, and Tom, you are dropping some gems. But I also just want to really home in on the fact that in that Billericay Blacks team, you had. So can you just name the clubs? You had 2 go to Ipswich, was it?
Yeah, so I have to get the picture up, I forget.
So I think you had 2 to Ipswich.
No names of the boys, just the clubs.
1 to Lake Norland.
So we had 3 to Charlton.
Yeah.
Had 2 to Ipswich and 1 to Leyton Orient.
Wow. And that's out of a group of how many? So 6 went through. How many did you have in that squad?
8.
Okay, so that
round of applause. You've
got to give a round of applause for that. I mean,
but what I would say is that I wouldn't necessarily say that they got what they deserved, some of them.
Understand,
And I would say that, that was probably something, I would say from a personal perspective for my own son, probably I would say that we also, as parents, if you're involved in grassroots football, be mindful of your own behaviour, because our boys are not being judged on their own. They're being judged, and they're being judged with you side by side. So I would say that these clubs are not just looking at you. They're not just looking at the boys, they're looking at the parents as well. And I think, there's probably a couple of occasions where I might have let myself down, which didn't necessarily lead to the right outcome for my, whoever, you don't know, but, I would say that some boys didn't necessarily get what they deserved.
Do you know what? That is very humble of you, Tom, to actually come on here, discuss. We're talking about your success, but you're talking about your failures, right? On here as well. And in the same breath, we're talking about the success you've literally just had with your boys and where they've gone. And for you to hold your hands up like a parent, like a coach, and we all have been in your position and done exactly the same thing. And to admit that, I think that's amazing. It just shows you're human. Everyone's human. We all make mistakes. It's all a journey that a lot of us don't have the history and all the experience coming in, and we're literally learning on the job.
100%. No one, and people forget, for me, and I had a guy that helped me, Dan, he was an amazing guy, is that we do this all free of charge. We're not earning money for this. We're doing this for the love of the game and to give these boys an opportunity. And really, I think sometimes emotions get the better of you, and maybe how you sometimes reflect. Should you have been the way that you were at a certain club? Should you have reacted the way that you did at a certain club? Has that had a detrimental effect to any of the boys' success going into a certain club? And I know for sure, for quite a few boys, that happened with one club in particular. So, so I would say that, humbly, yes, it's amazing that, they got there. Did all of the boys get signed? No. Should they have? I think yes. And did they get the right clubs? That's questionable as well. So, I would say that going into the next phase with the golds is you learn from those errors. But I would say that some of the things that might have happened still linger, and that's why you probably didn't get the success that you may have got. So, which is, for me, it is what it is. But, sometimes I feel sorry for the boys.
And I just wanted to pick up on that, because what I want to do is I want to make sure that everyone listening understands the kind of levels of what's been achieved, and the humility and the stuff that you're going through. So with the golds, it's been slightly different, because unlike the blacks were playing in their year group at the top end. The golds are playing a year above, so they're a year below, and they're at the top end, I believe. I'm not too sure.
Well, the gold started off in the top A for five-a-side in sevens, and I would say that my biggest regret with the blacks was the fact that I didn't do what I've done with the golds this year by playing them up an age on a bigger pitch. Me personally, there's obviously lots of chat around smaller sided games, 3v3, staying at five-a-side longer, etc. But on a personal level, in the blacks, in that after I would say we started in the September, come January, the boys I felt had already outgrown the pitch. So, for example, we had boys that could shift the ball out of their feet and literally at the halfway line shoot. And
you were popping it off against us from the halfway line, Tom. I remember that.
Shocking
tiny pitch.
Shocking tactics, Tom.
But and for me, for someone who I would say that likes football to be played the right way, and I like the boys to be playing, a passing style of game rather than just running into trouble. And I like the boys to play as a team, because that's the biggest thing that I kind of emphasize when the boys play for us. So I think that's the big difference, I would say, Dej, is that I would say that from my standpoint with the golds, I wish I'd done what I'd done with the golds for the Blacks in that only one season, because that's been a big difference. Like, we played a year up the golds this year, played in the B League, but they'd had lots of success, and just so proud of them.
Yeah.
And then we've come into the Festival Cup, which is A and B, and that's been a big difference.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about just quickly, just so that everyone knows, and then I'm handing it back to my fellow colleagues. So with the golds, I think you're hitting similar numbers with the golds. So can we just understand what potentially is on the horizon for them, please?
Yeah, so we've got in the golds. So let me just bring this up, because
I think it's so crucial that people hear this. You know, sometimes people think, you know, it's actually quite, it's unusual to have such a high number of players from one team going to the academy. At least for me, I think it's unusual. Usually it's 1 or 2, but when you're talking about 6 out of 8, 7 out of 9, there's definitely some sauce there, some jerk chicken definitely involved in it.
So this year,
yeah,
this year we've got 6 boys already signed.
Wow.
So you've got Charlton, we've got 2 at Spurs, 1 at Arsenal, 1 at Watford, 1 at West Ham, and I would say that my boy won't get signed, but there's 2 other boys that are in my squad, and one of them's actually an under 9, so he was playing in a lower league, left-footed defender, incredible. I think his time will come, and even today I got a message from a Palace scout that came over to watch the game, and he was like, he's unbelievable. You know, we want to keep an eye on him. So that was great. And then there's a young lad that is in my team who's an under 8. He's superb, and at the moment he's not necessarily got the opportunity that he deserves. But I don't think I've seen someone technically as good as him for a long time in that position. So I think the reality is we're looking at 6 again this year, but I think that could be 7 if that boy gets an opportunity.
Wow. It's amazing. It's fantastic. Can I ask how, if there was a difference, what the difference was between recruitment for the gold and the Blacks? So
the golds were pretty much born out of Billericay football school that starts from pretty much under 5s, under 6, headed up by a guy called Mick Lowe, who's amazing. He's actually the reason why I got to Billericay with the Blacks before. And really, you know, he runs a soccer school at Billericay, and the majority of that team have been there since they were tiny, from 6 pretty much. So they break the teams down into different categories, and really, you know, was fortunate enough to take the top team again, and they've just been, you know, they've just pushed on, you know, every single year they've just got better. And, you know, from a personal perspective, I would never say that the one team's better than the other, because that wouldn't necessarily be fair. But I definitely think that what the boys have achieved by playing up is unbelievable.
Okay. I mean, that sounds fantastic. Can we get, sorry, I missed his name. What was his name?
Mick Lowe.
Mick Lowe.
Super Mick.
Super Mick, Deji, you writing this list down? You've got a lot of
Yeah,
work.
mate, I'm writing it down,
mate.
mate. Well, and the guy at Southend was again the Southend guy.
What was it? Yeah, Rob. We got Rob. Robbie went to Monaco.
Yeah.
Robbie went to Monaco. So, Dej, if you want this trip to Monaco and you want it expense, you got to get these guys on. And Tom, we're going to do something new. Anybody you recommend, you've got to help us get them on the show next. Yeah.
Like and share.
Like and share. Yeah. Subscribe, all of that good stuff. Down, notifications, all of that. But we've got some more questions for Tom.
I've got one more at the end. But it's
okay,
nice
cool. So Rash has come off mute. I can see Rash is ready to go.
No, you know what? I'm just taking it all in. This is a lot. To do it twice is just crazy. And I'm just looking at him because I just remember meeting you. I thought, you know what, this guy's well humble. And it's just because, you know what, I can't lie. I feel like in grassroots anyway, there's some clubs that are very, let's just say, arrogant with the types of kids they may have if they know they've got a good talent. And
very true.
Yeah, and they try to make their presence felt like that. But with you, I've never felt that. It's always been, yeah, like you say, you move exactly like I expected. When I see you like a dad, calm, relaxed, and it's good. So I can see why you're getting the results out of the kids as well, because it also comes with the energy from the person at the top. So the energy you're putting into the kids, it's showing. So I commend you, man.
I make you right.
Make you right on that.
No, mate, I appreciate that. Like these boys are an extension of my own family, and you know, whatever I do for my own boy, I do for every single one of them. You know, I say that to them is that, you know, all they need to do is give me 110%, and I'm their biggest fan. Like that's what, because one of the biggest things is I think too many people think that they're going to turn up and be rock stars every week. But if you remember it rightly, and we've all been there with pre-academy, they were going to pre-academies like 5 days a week. Yeah. Then they might go and do a session with someone on a Saturday or whatever the case may be. And then we all expected our boys to be like Ronaldinho on a Sunday and perform. Yeah. And the reality is they're not robots. And that's why I kind of said to you before, it's not how hard you're working. It's about you've got to work smart, and you've got to work smart. I can't stress that enough. Working smart is so important.
And Rash, just following what you said. So today, Tom, I mentioned you this morning to someone at my son's game, and they had nothing but praise to say about you. They said sometimes what you say may come across a bit harsh, but it's all for the love of the kids, and you come from a good place. So, and to be honest with you, Tom, I didn't really come across you in the Echo League. I think I'm not even sure I ever met you for the first time, because obviously my boy was a bit different in terms of Echo League development and pathways and stuff. But yeah, every time I've met you, it's always been pleasant. It's been nice, you know. It's been great meetings and greetings and stuff. It's been great. But like I said today, the person I mentioned your name to today, because I said obviously we've got a pod tonight. You'll be on here. He's a good guy, you know. I know sometimes he says some things that come across differently, but everything comes from the right place from his heart. All he wants is for the best for the kids. So hearing obviously that this afternoon, then hearing you today, and everyone else is saying great things about you. So obviously you're doing great things, and people recognise that, and the wider audience, maybe you don't always hear from them.
No, I appreciate that, mate.
What's next for you, Tom?
Do you know what? It's I would say that there's going to be a period where I'm going to hang it up for a while, because I would say that this year's been tough. I would say the last 2 years have been, as much as they've been really rewarding, and I would never change it. I've not been able to see my other boys' football as much as I would like to, and that's what some people forget, is that, you know, I'm sacrificing my own kids' football for their kids. So, and I think the wife's had enough of all of the football calls for a while, to be fair.
Can you just say that again? Can you just literally rewind and say that exact thing one more time, please? I think people need to hear it. I think it's important.
The wife is she has a sense of humour failure with the amount of calls that happen. But It's I'm gonna stop with the running of a team for a while. Want to concentrate on obviously my youngest boy's new journey between the sticks. Gonna support him, and then my oldest boy, fingers crossed, he stays where he is. They get retain or release soon, so hopefully he gets another year, which means that I can kind of see him, hopefully keep fulfilling his dream, but there to support him, good or bad. So that's my key objective, like going forward. And I was thinking the managerial career was going to be cut short, but we won today in the Echo Cup, so we might get through. We might get through. We had the group of death. So we might get through. We might get through.
Tom,
trophy.
We've got finesse. We've got finesse in the last game.
That's a toughie, mate. That's a toughie.
Tom, can I give you 2 years retirement? My daughter's 5. Yeah, so if I give you 2 years, by the time she's 7, she's good to go.
Mate, Dan, I was asked by my daughter, because my youngest are twins, and she's so for me, I was asked, would I do the girls, and I was like, absolutely not. Like,
that's another pod.
You got to get that's another pod. But you might as well just be the triple.
I'm not doing another team. I'm not doing another team. My daughter would have me wrapped around my fingers.
How old are they, Tom?
She would have me. Pardon me?
What's their ages?
So eldest is 10, and then the twins are 8.
There we go. Look, 2 years. We've got 3 players there. We got my daughter and the 2 youngest. We're there. We've got 3 players.
My daughter's a defender. She's 10. Do you know what I mean?
There we go. See, the squad's building.
And I got an 11-year-old and I got a 9-year-old that I can definitely boost up numbers if you need it. So let me know.
Guys, Tom said he's not doing it. He said his wife had a phone call, sense of humor, failure. What are you guys not listening? We need to
give him a 2-year break. You got a 2-year break.
Like Pep,
what?
Klopp.
It'd be interesting. One thing that I think would get us out and doing it again, I think, would be maybe in the next couple of years. You never know what happens with all of this retain or release, but I think for me would creating a really solid side to go and play in kind of like the EGA, playing at on the stadium pitches where you can also be, because one thing I want to get over to the parents, and in this podcast is, just because your boy doesn't get signed now doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's I go and watch lots of games at under 13s, 14s, and there is so many scouts, and the fact is these boys want it. They want it. They're hungry because they haven't had that opportunity. Yeah. And it's just about, as parents, keeping them on the straight and narrow to that point and keeping that flame lit. But, it's really important that parents don't think it's the be all and end all that your boy is not in an academy, because, it's, for me, it's the league. It's the league and the opposition. Other than that, it's kind of, I think it's much of a muchness, really. So it might be the opposition you're playing against, or the league that you're playing in, as per se. But don't rule out your boys having opportunities. And I think that's just something that you need to stress to as many people as possible. Like, if one door shuts, others will open. If they work smart, other doors will open.
100%.
That is the short right there. There's been so many gems, but that is the short. Toby, clip that up. Let's get that one out there.
Clip that. I wanted to, because we're just conscious of time. I just wanted to I thought whilst we have you, Tom, just to ask this question, you mentioned that your son is in an academy, and maybe just quickly, a minute or two, what has that experience been like? Was it what you expected? Was it not what you expected? Do you see a difference between that and maybe the top end of like the Echo? Just, just a kind of bird's eye view of academy football and whether it's,
Yeah, look, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to the academy football, and that's not because I'm trying to sort of get splinters in my arse and sit on the fence. I'm just I don't think there's a right or wrong, and what I would say is that there was a question posed that, and I'll kind of leave you with this as a comment that was made, but if you could rub the whole genie in a bottle and you could make a wish, what would your wish be about your son's journey? And one of the things was for me was that, is it to bring him in to the academy football? If you could know this was possible, to bring him in at 15, 16 years old, because one thing I would say is that it's incredibly tough on the boys. And I don't think that all of the boys are mentally strong enough for the journey. So what I would say is there's no right or wrong, because I look at boys now and I think, wow, like they're mentally strong, they're focused. But there's other boys where I think they might not necessarily be mentally strong enough at the minute, but they're incredible footballers. Incredible. Like their footballing brain is just, next level. But I do think that the being mentally strong in academy football is the bit that is, for me, the most apparent difference outside of grassroots football. Because grassroots football, Dej, Andrew, Dan, Rash, after that game, it's fine. You can kind of move on, and you can put your arm around your son and say, do you know what? Next week we kind of go again, and you've got, keep doing what you're doing. Whereas in academy football, you're always on parade. Your training's getting recorded, your matches are getting recorded. You're always there, and whatever you're doing is going to be filmed and it's going to be shown. So you're constantly, and that's why the percentage is so small in terms of, I believe, who make it, because it's such a hard journey. It's such a hard journey, and I think sometimes is coming in later, if you can guarantee coming in later, the better route, because you're kind of mentally stronger. So that would be one thing. The only other thing that I kind of really feel sorry for the boys who play academy football, and some people go, why do you feel sorry for them about this? But the one thing I kind of feel that they miss out on is tournaments. So you've got all of the the really good tournaments that get run around Essex and London, is that there's a hell of a lot of bad press if you're an academy team that go and play a year older, and you might win it. Last summer we ended up going in at a tournament 2 years older, just to make sure that the boys could play tournament football. So I think there's definitely a niche market if Baller at all costs could set up a tournament, summer tournament for academy.
Write this down.
Yeah, come on. Where's my pen? I think
All at all cost tournament coming soon.
Definitely.
Somewhere in Essex.
You might get that trip to Monaco though, if you with the amount of money in kids football, you might make it.
Mate, tell me about it. That's another podcast. I'm about to hang my boots in my day job and put my my little Ronaldinho's on and start running around. Come on, boys, kick that ball, step over shift.
Look, I just I think I want to just say to all you guys, thanks for having me today. And I'd say that like humbly, like, you know, I think what you're doing is great. You're getting people talking about situations that sometimes are a bit uncomfortable. And you know, I think it's great. You know, people that I've spoken to, you know, people have listened to it as well. So just keep doing what you're doing, and you know, I really, really do appreciate being asked on today, guys. So thank you so much.
No, thanks for
Thank
coming.
you, Tom.
Tom, thank you. I think it's amazing to have you and just to hear the stories, because, you know, as parents and people who are in and around each other, you just hear things, but you never really get to understand the parent or the coach or the person, and for you to just kind of be vulnerable and just pour out the way that you poured out, I think it was amazing, and we think it's amazing. And thank you for coming and even naming and bigging up those people who had a part to play. Too often we see people posting and, you know, they've done great, but forgetting about who got them there in the first place. My son had a game against Nest earlier today. I'll just call it out, and I said this is where it started. You know, if not for the training received from Patrick there, I don't know if my son has the feet that he has today. You know, and you got to give props to the people who were there from the beginning, and always remember them as the journey continues to progress and progress. So Tom, it's been fantastic having you.
You need, and that's the big thing to focus on as a takeaway, is that pick those coaches wisely. You know, we've got a handful of coaches that and that doesn't mean that the people that we use, may it be Proverbs, Pass, or Every Player Matters. It doesn't matter what, but choose the people that are right for you, and don't kind of follow everyone else. You know, get a tailored program and work at that and be true to yourself, you know, because at the end of the day, if you go all guns blazing and be true to yourself, you can never look back and say, I got that wrong, because you chose to go in that direction. So I think just pick the coaches wisely who you deal with, you know, people that care, people that don't just, you know, I'm not saying that people just take money, but people that you can kind of text, how did the boys get on? What's your feedback? Etc., etc. Having that little bit of a personal touch is important.
100%. And Tom, I'm going to say it. People just take money. I'm going to say it. You don't have to. I'll say it. So you're 100% right.
I was thinking about doing more coaching badges, and maybe people can be like just a $5 turn up. Because I think sometimes it's so expensive, and football's getting kind of elitist. Really,
yeah, it is. It's the common man's sport, but it is becoming elitist 100%.
But look, I think just stay true to the coaches. The coaches, there's amazing coaches out there, and obviously just named a few there. But you know, there's other great people out there that we all know. But you know, just don't follow the crowds. Just pick your coaches and go with them, because it's like the Instagram. Everyone's chasing it. You know, no one puts anything bad up.
Yeah. 100% and 100%. Guys, listen, if you've listened to this pod and stayed the journey, the course all the way through, it's a long one, but it's worth it. So if you are here now, you've heard success, you've heard vulnerability, you've heard discussions about failure, you've heard information, coaches that have been named. So many gems have been dropped. Tom, it's been amazing. We thank you. Guys, we're going to put the names of some of those coaches in the comments. If you've got other coaches that you think others should listen to and recommend, hey, coaches may not fit your son or daughter, but if you're aware of others and you go and you seek them out and you really are true to yourself and your child, you will find the right coach or coaches for your children. So please leave comments to help everybody else. We are doing this to help everybody in grassroots football. We don't have all the answers. Tom doesn't have all the answers, but together, having these conversations, we can get to the right answers for you and your children. And that's what it's all about ultimately, right? So join the conversation, guys. Like, subscribe, share, Don't be that friend that doesn't share. Yeah. You've got a plug, you've got the link, share with your friends. That's what it's about. Be that good friend. Hit the notification, guys. Leave a review. It's Ball at All Costs, the source to success. Thank you, Tom. Guys, thank you very much. It's been amazing.
Thank you guys, man. Pleasure.